Track heights are one of the most essential aspects of navigating within Pro Tools. So let's talk about making tracks larger or smaller. There's multiple methods. You're going to find that one is not always the best. You're always going to choose which one works for your situation. So if we have our mouse right at the ruler section, we can click on this ruler and change our heights of tracks. This allows us to go into Micro View all the way down into Fit to Window. Fit to Window is very useful for doing minute edits on, let's say, a lead vocal, on the breath or something like that. Let's go in and set it to Micro. We have a unique problem because as the track gets smaller and smaller, you start losing less and less functions within that particular track. You can click on this little side arrow here, and it pulls up a menu of all the items available for that track, and you can choose track height and do the same thing. So notice I can click on this right here and choose track height. I can click right here, choose track height. I can also click at the bottom of a track and move it up or down. Notice how it is working in steps. In order to make it work very smoothly, you just hold down the Command key, and now you can make that track be very smooth in its height. Now let's say we want to do this to multiple tracks. This is where you hold the Option key down again. So if I hold the Option key and I click right here, notice I'm changing all my track heights. But if I want to do Option and then click on it and then hold Command, notice I can make them all be smooth in heights. So there's a lot of different methods here. Now, one of my favorite methods of working with track heights is using the Selector tool and putting your cursor on a track, and you just use the Control up and down arrow. This is a very common command that's used across multiple DAWs. So you could select across multiple tracks like this, and you could say Control up or Control down arrow to control the heights. Now let's say if I do the Option, which is the All command again, and I hold Option and Control, watch what happens. I can go in here and switch all my tracks to be smaller or larger. So it's not just the selection anymore. If I hold down all three of them, Control, Option, and Command, all at the same time, well, now you have a very special function that I use quite a bit in Pro Tools, and you're going to want to use this a lot. So I call it the three-finger salute. So you just simply have all three fingers down, Control, Option, Command, hit the down arrow, and it's called Fit to Window, and it makes all tracks fit to window. So let's say I make this edit window a little bit smaller here. I do the three-finger down arrow, I make those tracks fit. If I go down and make it larger, I do the three-finger down arrow, it will make them fit to that particular window. Very, very useful. You're going to find yourself doing that quite a bit throughout Pro Tools. So just another example is where I could go in and hide. Let's say I want to hide this particular track, this track, and I just do a three-finger down arrow and I make them fit the window. Now let's talk about MIDI tracks. MIDI tracks are pretty unique. We haven't discussed them in detail yet, but I think this is a good opportunity to express the differences on how MIDI tracks work with track heights. Notice that when you're working right on this particular ruler area that we'd called it in the audio track, it actually selects MIDI data within that track. This is useful for highlighting specific notes, but we can't change the track height. So the small difference that you have to do here is right-click. When you right-click, then you can change the track height. But notice there's one unique advantage here. We can switch this into a single note view. This allows us to go into this note, and now we can treat this note just like drum editing. So I can take my pencil tool and just draw in kicks here and there, and this allows more of an 808 or 909 style of programming your percussion or your drums. Otherwise, if you just click on this, right-click, and you set it to medium height, you're just simply dealing with normal track heights. So this concludes the different methods of messing with track heights. There's a lot of different methods here. Take advantage of them. Use the Control up and down. Understand that the Option is dealing with all. And if you hold down all three, Control, Option, Command, and using the up and down arrow, it's called Fit to Window.